Hello, welcome back to CCHW, Christ Church of the Holy Word. This is our study, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, of the New Testament. Tonight, we're going to be covering chapter 5 of this book of Mark. And in the last chapter, the apostles and Jesus were out on a ship, and Jesus fell asleep. The apostles, they freaked out. A storm came up, and they were all afraid of the ship going under, sinking. It's taking on water, and they thought all of them were going to drown. So when they woke Jesus up, he ordered the sea and the wind to calm. And this miracle, I would argue, influenced the apostles maybe as much as Jesus raising somebody from the dead, because all of a sudden they saw the power of the Son of God that he had over everything in this dimension of flesh. Even the wind and the sea was under Christ's control. They were impressed. Impressed isn't the right word. They were blown away. Let's pick it up. Chapter 5 of this book of Mark. They're still on that same ship. Let's pick it up. Chapter 5, verse 1, and verse 1 reads, "And they came over in that ship unto the other side of the sea, into the country of Gadarenes." This is an area that was southeast of the Sea of Galilee. Verse 2. "And when he, Jesus, was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs," caves, "a man with an unclean spirit." Verse 3. "Who," speaking of this man, "had his dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains." This was a wild man, beloved, strong. Verse 4. "Because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him," broken apart, "and the fetters broken in pieces, neither could any man tame him." Friends, he was strong, he was wild, he was a crazy man. Verse 5. "And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones." Verse 6. "But when he," this wild man, "saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshipped him." What's going on here, beloved? This possessed man worshipped Jesus Christ. Kind of seems like strange behavior, but listen, we'll figure it out. Verse 7. "And cried," this man, "with a loud voice, and said, What have I to do with thee, Jesus?" There's more to this man. "Thou Son of the Most High God." How does he know all this? "I adjure thee by God that thou torment me not." Verse 8. "For he," Jesus, "said unto him, Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit." So Jesus knows what's going on. This man is possessed. And Jesus orders the unclean spirit out of him. Verse 9. And he asked the unclean spirit, "What is thy name?" And he, the unclean spirit, answered, saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many." There wasn't just one unclean spirit possessing this man, beloved. There were many. There was a legion of them. And I don't know if you're familiar with the word legion, but in British English, a legion is like somewhere between 3,000 and 6,000 men. Verse 10. And he, the evil spirit, at least the spokesman for this legion, he besought him, Jesus, that he would not send them away out of the country. Now, this word country, I find this interesting because this makes a little more sense to me. This word country is put it on the screen for you, number 5561 in the Greek, and it means a space, a place, or a land in the ancient Greek. Now, I believe this unclean spirit was asking not to be sent out of this space, this dimension of flesh that it was occupying, or they were occupying. Let's continue, verse 11. Now, there was there nigh unto the mountains a great herd of swine feeding. It's a herd of pigs, friends, and it's huge. Remember, swine, pigs are unclean animals. 12. And all the devils besought him, Jesus, saying, "Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them." First, unclean animals, verse 13. And forthwith Jesus gave them leave, gave them permission, and the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. Parentheses here, we know what parentheses, this has been added in order to clarify for us. Listen to what it says. They, the swine, were about 2,000 and were choked in the sea. They drowned. The pigs ran into the water and they were drowned in the sea. Think about this, friends. When those swine died, the unclean spirits must have came out of those animals and were once again left in this dimension searching for a new home. I believe many of the unclean spirits that you might run into today, evil spirits, may have been amongst this legion, and they've been roaming this dimension ever since. Living beings were what they wanted, they were looking for, they wanted to possess them. But friends, this was not going to make the owners of the pigs happy. Listen, verse 14. And they that fed the swine fled. They were so frightened by what they had seen, and told it in the city, spread the word around, and in the country. And they went out to see, everybody from the country went out to see what it was that was done. 15. And they came to Jesus and see him that was possessed with the devil, the man, the crazy strong man, and had the legion, was possessing him. They saw him sitting and clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. They had never seen this man like this before in their life, and this guy had been around. All of a sudden, he was normal. This guy that was running through the tombs and breaking chains and crying in the middle of the night. All of a sudden, he's a normal person. 16. And they that saw it told them, the witnesses of what Jesus had done, told them how it befell to him that was possessed with the devil, and also concerning the swine. So the eyewitnesses, they gave their account of what had happened. 17. And they, the other people that came out to see this, they pray him, Jesus, to depart out of their coast. Friends, they wanted Jesus to leave. Why do you suppose? Well, part of it, 200 swine, that's worth a little bit of money. And there's certainly those amongst the crowd that had taken a loss. They had some interest in the swine, so when they were killed, obviously they were going to be losing money. They didn't want that stuff happening. 18. And when Jesus was coming into the ship, he that had been possessed, the wild man, with the devil, prayed Jesus that he might be with him. The wild man wanted to go with Jesus. 19. Howbeit, although, or however, Jesus suffered him not, but saith unto him, Go home to thy friends and tell them how great things the Lord hath done for thee, and hath had compassion on thee. So Jesus had a job for this man. He was to go to the people that knew him, had obviously known what had happened to him, how affected he had been, and to teach them, to tell them about God and the great wonders that God does. So in a way, think about this, friends. You know, we've been talking about parables and stuff. This is what we're supposed to do. This is the planting of the seeds of God's truth. Verse 20. And he departed, the wild man departed, the now tame man, and began to publish in Decapolis how great things Jesus had done for him. And all men did marvel. Friends, there's no better witness to something like this than somebody that everybody knew what condition he was in before. 21. And when Jesus was passed over again by sea unto the other side, much people gathered unto him, and he was nigh unto the sea. So Jesus was right next to Sea of Galilee teaching. 22. And behold, there cometh one of the rulers of the synagogue, powerful man. His name, Jairus by name. And when he saw him, when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet. This ruler fell down, knelt before Jesus Christ. He understood who this was. So, showing faith, 23. And besought him, this ruler besought Jesus greatly, saying, My little daughter layeth at the point of death. I pray thee, come and lay thy hands on her, that she may be healed, and she shall live. So friends, this ruler is making this huge statement of faith. He's saying, come lay your hands on him, Lord, or her, Lord. I know you can heal her. 24. And Jesus went with him, and much people followed him and thronged him. This huge crowd following him, and he's on his way. He's going to heal this girl. Verse 25. And a certain woman, which had an issue of blood 12 years, quite a while here, 26, and had suffered many things of many physicians. She'd put up with a lot of physicians, none of them seemed to do any good, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing bettered, but rather grew worse. So she'd spent all of her money, she'd seen all of these experts, and really, it's kind of, in many cases, what's going on in the world today. In the world of medicine, especially in the world of drugs, what has been happening. People spending all their money, not getting any better. 27. When she had heard of Jesus, came in the press behind. She came up behind him and touched his garment. So this woman forced her way into the crowd, and the crowd that was encircling Jesus, and pushed her way in there and touched his garment. 28. For she said, or she thought to herself, if I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. It's another statement of faith, beloved. 29. And straightway, immediately, it's one of Mark's trademark expressions, and straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of that plague. Friends, she was immediately healed, and she knew it. 30. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that virtue or some power, some healing power had gone out of him, turned him about in the press, in this huge crowd, and said, who toucheth my clothes? 31. And his disciples said unto him, they were kind of amazed, because you can only imagine this huge crowd of people around him, and he's wanting to know who touched him. Let me start over. And his disciple, this is 31, his disciples said unto him, unto Jesus, thou seest the multitude thronging thee, and sayest thou, who toucheth me? They were kind of surprised. His disciples, of course, had no idea who had touched him, because there were just so many people around him. 32. And he, Jesus, looked about to see her, see this woman that had done this thing. 33. But the woman, fearing, trembling, knowing what was done in her, she knew she'd been healed, came and fell down before him, before Jesus, and told him all the truth. Explained that she knew if she'd just been able to touch this garment, that she would have been healed. 34. And he, Jesus, said unto her, daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole of thy plague. So, once again, faith healed. Her faith had healed her. Friends, I mentioned this before. It's why I try to pray every day for faith to be strengthened in me, my faith to be strengthened. It's the most powerful thing that we have going. 35. While he yet spake, he was still speaking to this woman, there came from the ruler of the synagogue's house certain which said, Thy daughter is dead. Why troublest thou the master any further? So remember, Jesus was traveling with this ruler. He was on his way to go see this ruler's sick daughter when this woman had pressed her in and had touched his garment and had been healed. They were on the way to this ruler's house, and now they were saying, hey, she's gone. Why bother? 36. As soon as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, as soon as he heard that the daughter had passed away, he, Jesus, saith unto the ruler of the synagogue, Be not afraid, only believe. Friends, believing is to have faith. If you have faith, you believe. If you believe, that's a product of faith. Jesus is telling this ruler to have faith. Have faith. Don't give up. 37. And he suffered no man to follow him. Jesus didn't let the crowd come. Save the only people that he allowed to come with him, save Peter and James and John, the brother of James. Those three. 38. And he cometh to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and seeth the tumult. There's a huge crowd there, and them that wept and wailed greatly. They had already started the wailing and the mourning process. 39. And when he was come, when Jesus got there, he saith to them, the mourners, Why make ye this ado? Why are you making such a big deal? And weep. The damsel is not dead, but sleepeth. Verse 40. And they, this crowd of people, they laughed him to scorn. They laughed at Jesus. But when he had put them all out, he kicked them out of the house. He taketh the father, the ruler of the synagogue, and the mother of the damsel, and them that were with him, his 3 apostles, and entered in where the damsel was laying. So, Jesus, his 3 apostles, and the mother and the father go into the house. 41. And he took the damsel by the hand, and said unto her, Talith kume, which is, being interpreted or translated, what it means is, Damsel, I say unto thee, arise. Verse 42. And straightway the damsel arose and walked, for she was the age of 12 years. Same amount of time that woman had that issue of blood. And they were astonished with a great astonishment. Now, Jesus said she was just sleeping, but everybody there knew that that girl had died. This would astonish everyone. It would only build the frenzy around Jesus, the number of people that were trying to get to him. And believe me, friends, to bring back someone that was dead, that was unheard of. 43. And he charged them straitly, everybody in that room with him, that no man should know it, and commanded that something should be given her to eat. So, again, I don't think any of us can realize how intense the crowd was around him, of this frenzy of not only sick people wanting to be healed, but just people watching, wanting to see the next great miracle that was going to happen. And he told them, nobody outside this house is supposed to know what actually happened. Just tell them she was asleep. The huge crowds of people, they were already a problem for Jesus and his disciples, and it was only going to continue. It was going to get worse. But if the word got out that he'd raised this young girl from the dead, it was only going to exacerbate this problem. Friends, I hope you can join us next time. We're doing the 7th chapter of this book of Luke. Till then, I encourage you, stay in his word, friends, and be a watchman. You know, it's amazing how the plan of God is coming together and becoming fact right before our eyes in this last generation. From everything from peace to the resurgence of Christianity within our young people. It's an amazing thing to watch. And what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to stay in the field working, friends. We're supposed to be planting seeds of God's truth. Remember, one way to plant seeds, one nice little easy way, is by sharing our teachings with others, your family, friends, whoever is searching for truth. I'll put this on the screen, but you can find our videos on different platforms such as YouTube at CCHW Real News 2676. And please, when you're there, like our videos and subscribe to our channel. It helps us in the process of getting out to more people. And remember, as I like to tell you, the elect, the members of the many-membered body, the election, will forge the path to the Lord in this final generation.